We just wrapped up a really neat project and want to show you the build process. This was an interesting one. In order to get the HOA to allow the shed, we had to comply with some pretty strict height requirements, which added a few challenges to the job, but overall it turned out really awesome and is going to make for a great building. This is a 10 by 16, and some of the features will include an insulated floor, 2 steel entry doors, 2 2-foot overhangs coming off the end walls, 4 windows, and radiant barrier roof decking, which will help keep the shed quite a bit cooler, especially on those hot summer days. I'll show you more on that a little later in the video. Our customer came to us wanting a building she could turn into a she shed, so she would have a place to work doing some various hobbies she's into. But the HOA wouldn't approve unless the shed was no taller than 8 feet to the midpoint of the roof. This is a common terminology in our area that some of these different HOAs use. It can be a little confusing because they are not referring to the overall height of the building, but are essentially referring to the halfway point between the start of the roof to the peak, which would be the quarter point of the roof. Although it can make the structure not as functional due to its lower profile, there's not much we can do about it other than to comply and keep them happy. That way our customers can still enjoy a shed in their backyard. The floor structure will have 2x6s, 16-inch on center with pressure-treated skids that will sit on concrete blocks to get it elevated slightly. That way it keeps it out of the moisture. This will make for a very stout floor capable of holding four-wheelers, riding lawnmowers, and other heavy objects. The gravel area makes for a really nice base, but we need to make sure the floor is level before we start building on top of it. You can see we do this by using shims and cedar wedges on top of the blocks where necessary. Since the customer is going to finish the interior of the shed with wood paneling and electrical, we are going to get the floor insulated as well. We are going to use a 2-inch thick rigid foam insulation. Before we arrived, we attached strips of OSB to both sides of the floor joists. That way, when we add the insulation, it will keep it nice and tight up against the floor decking, making it as effective as possible. If you are enjoying the video and would like to see more upcoming projects, then please subscribe to the channel. If you are considering getting a shed or even building your own, and think you will eventually want to finish off the inside, making it a workshop or home office, then you might want to consider insulating your floor. If you don't do it during the build process, it would be pretty difficult to go back and do it after the shed is completed. Our walls are 6 feet tall, and then we modified our trusses to have a 412 roof pitch to comply with the 8 feet to the midpoint rule. One challenge we face when doing this is on the doors. Since our customer is going to finish off the inside, they wanted to go with a steel entry door. Steel entry doors are insulated, pretty weather tight, and also have a deadbolt. But the doors are pretty tall. They are roughly 6 foot 8 inches. So in order for it to fit, it will go beyond the height of the wall and into the truss. We can make it work fine, but it just isn't ideal and can take away from the look of the shed as well. I had mentioned we changed the truss pitch to a 412. The standard pitch is a 612. If you are not familiar with that term, it just means how steep the roof will be. The 612 would make for a steeper pitch and make the shed end up being taller. By going with the 412, it will make the roof more shallow and not as tall. We are going to start building out the overhangs. They will extend out 2 feet. There's a few different ways we can do this. In this case, we didn't want to have to use posts to support it. So we dropped the end truss 3.5 inches and ran back 2x4s into the building that connect to the first interior truss. This will give it the proper support needed. By building it this way, we won't have to deal with digging holes and pouring concrete for the posts to sit in. And it will also free up space so you don't have to avoid hitting them as you're walking around the shed and into it. You can see on the underside of the roof decking it has a foil back material called radiant barrier. This is a great product. The foil reflects the rays of the sun instead of absorbing them. This in turn will help keep the shed a little bit cooler. If you go into a shed that has this material on a hot summer day and then go into one that does not, you can really feel the difference. Not only do these large overhangs look really nice, but they also help protect the doors and windows from the elements. And you can see just how tall that door is in comparison to the overall height of the shed. They go almost to the peak of the roof. Having all these windows will be great for getting in the natural light, extra airflow, and being able to look outside when you're in here working. The slider windows are 2x2, and then the side window is 4 feet wide and 1 foot tall. We refer to this one as a fixed window because it doesn't open. This style has become pretty popular in recent years. They typically go up towards the top of the wall, so they are out of the way and take up less wall space. Another challenge with the height modification is we are having to make lots of extra cuts for the trim to fit around the doors and windows. Normally, there's plenty of space between the two, so these cuts aren't necessary. We are all wrapped up and have one happy customer. Now that we've finished the exterior, our customer can get started getting the electrical, insulation, and wall paneling installed. If you would like for us to go back and take some video when it's all finished up, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.